to produce fake IDs and driver's licenses. It happened in Florida. 52 people arrested. Was this a program designed to help terrorists get the documents they need to move into and around the country? National correspondent Catherine Herridge is live in Washington with the latest on this story. Hello, Catherine.
Yeah, hi, Brian. At this point of the investigation, Homeland Security officials telling Fox they don't think there is a link to terrorism, but the bottom line is that they're not 100% sure yet. This Florida bust is a big deal because we're talking about 2,000 suspect licenses that were sold between $1,500 and $3,000 a pop. They're trucking licenses, hazmat licenses, and some were bought by illegals who had access to Florida ports. The arrest went down midweek in Florida. In all, 52 people arrested. About half face criminal charges, but what's most troubling, it's alleged to be an inside job. 3 people working at the Florida Department of Motor Vehicles are accused of providing the licenses to illegals for a fee. Now, unlike a fake ID, these licenses are legit. So a border inspector would probably let the individual through because there are no obvious red flags.
Internal conspiracies are a vulnerability. Corruption is a vulnerability. We talk about feeder documents. The feeder document here is cash. You have the money, you get a license. We have to eliminate that.
Fox getting access to the fraudulent document lab at an undisclosed location in Virginia this week. It does the forensic examination of suspect documents for Immigration and Customs Enforcement. That's a division of Homeland Security. In simple terms, they check the documents for a number of safety features, but those on the front line saying that terrorists as well as criminal groups are becoming very adept at copying the safety features because of computer desktop technology. And when push comes to shove, groups like Al-Qaeda have the money to purchase excellent forgeries.
Well, the concern with Al-Qaeda is that they're on record, or we have documentation, that they are very much involved in the use of fraudulent documents for concealing their identities.
This is the 3rd time in a week that Immigration and Customs Enforcement has cracked down on license scams. And I think it's worth noting that since 9/11, your license has become a more important form of ID. For example, you need it to get on a plane now. And I think it's also worth noting that there is still no federal standard for these licenses. And that was one of the principal recommendations of the 9/11 Commission. Brian.
All right, Catherine Herridge, thank you. Another wave of violence this week in Iraq as Abu Musab al-Zarqawi issues another call to his followers. Former CIA officer Peter Brooks joins us now to discuss these developments. Peter, of course, is a columnist for the New York Post and a senior fellow at the Heritage Foundation. Good to have you here, Peter.
Good to be with you.
Well, is al-Zarqawi, is he getting bolder or, in your estimation, more desperate?
Well, he had a good week. It's a bad week for us, but it was a good week for him. He was able to perpetrate a number of attacks. But remember, it's not just al-Zarqawi. It was, the insurgents, the old Ba'ath loyalists. It's also foreign jihadists. But he has to be visible, not only through attacks, but also his audio tape is good for recruiting. It's good for fundraising, and it's also taunting the opposition and sending a message of intimidation to the Iraqis.
So, is this guy is he as powerful as we think he is, or is he just a factor who claims credit for a lot of things?
Well, he does claim credit for a lot of things, but he doesn't claim credit for everything. And if you look at it, I don't think that the former regime elements are doing a lot of the suicide bombings. A lot of that is coming out of Al-Qaeda, what they're calling Al-Qaeda in the land of the 2 rivers now, or Al-Qaeda in Iraq. So he is claiming some credit for some things, and he is a very important figure. He is the most visible figure in Al-Qaeda today in the world. He's much more visible than al-Zawahiri or Osama bin Laden himself.
So what should we be doing to try to get this guy rounded up? I mean, are we making all the right moves? Is there anything that we're missing?
We came very close to him. One of the interesting things about Zarqawi, who's a Jordanian, is he's a master of disguises. And it's very interesting, he didn't come out with a videotape, he came out with an audio tape. So he's had a beard in the past, he's had a mustache, he wears glasses, he doesn't wear glasses. He's very difficult, he's obviously very smart about operational security, otherwise we would have gotten him before this.
But should we be are we under a false impression that if we get this guy, that we shut down the network?
That could be. I mean, the same with Osama bin Laden. Just like they said, the State Department said recently in their terrorism report, Al-Qaeda is no longer a group, it's a movement. It's an ideology. It's a theology. And so all of these other groups are not necessarily being controlled by Osama bin Laden or Al-Qaeda itself, but embrace Al-Qaeda's ideology. If we get him, certainly a good thing. but it won't necessarily be the end of it.
Well, they always said that if Osama bin Laden became ineffective, that somebody else would rise up to the ranks. And
Absolutely.
So that it would also follow then that if you got this guy, that somebody else would pop up.
We have al-Zawahiri who's out there, and certainly if you got Osama bin Laden or Zawahiri, there's Zarqawi. The other thing is Zarqawi is very busy in Iraq, but from something we captured very recently, when we got very close to getting him, a computer, we found out that he has ambitions to strike outside of Iraq as well as the United States. So that's very important. I don't think he has the capability or global reach to do that, but he has the ambition
Certainly
to do so.
has the desire. Right?
Absolutely, and that's very important.
Well, there you go. There's good sleeping tonight. Thanks a lot, Peter. We appreciate it. Good to see you again. A couple hundred Minutemen stood their ground on the Arizona border. Find out what's next for the Minuteman movement. And then, 2 terror attacks today in Cairo, Egypt, one on a well-known tourist site, another in a historic part of town. We'll have a live report on this in just a few moments. This is Weekend Live. Brian Wilson in for Tony Snow. Back in just a moment.
Grip, climbing ability, handling, traction. Great for animals, even better for your car. The Subaru Outback with symmetrical all-wheel drive standard. It has better handling and cornering and even better fuel economy than a Ford Explorer. Think, feel, drive Subaru.
Now through May 2nd, get financing as low as 1.9% APR on all 2005 Subaru models.
Hey, you didn't type in your password.
Don't have to. Biometrics.
What?
Wherever I am, I just swipe, password goes in, I'm connected. Biometrics.
A bionic finger. Cool. It's like 10 times stronger than a regular finger.
No, it's for passwords. No, it's more like na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na.
Na-na-na-na-na-na. Better.
Secure wireless made easy. Only on a ThinkPad with Intel Centrino mobile technology.
They say you are what you eat. Put a plant in topsoil, you get a starving plant. Because ordinary topsoil has little, if any, nutrition. Now put a plant in new Miracle-Gro garden soil. Wow. Rich, organic ingredients. Plus Miracle-Gro continuous release plant food. Nourishes nonstop for up to 3 months. Plants grow twice as big, and you get twice the compliments. That's nice. New Miracle-Gro garden soil. Make your own miracles.
And I'm feeling good.
It's time for feeling good.
I'm feeling good.
It's time. The new hit album from Michael Bublé.
Let me go home.
Featuring the hit single Home. To order Michael Bublé's new album, It's Time, for $18.98 plus $4.95 shipping and handling, you can call the number on your screen or send a check or money order to the address shown. Must be 18 years old to order.
Hey, neighbor, where you headed?
Camping. We'll be roughing it.
Honey, did you pack batteries for the DVD player?
Yes, dear. For the kids.
How about batteries for the digital camera, camcorder, GPS, and flashlights?
Kids are afraid of the dark.
We need to go to Batteries Plus. We don't want our little fella stranded and scared out there.
Kids, right.
Thousands of batteries. Batteries Plus in Beaverton on Canyon Road next to Tom's Pancake House.
1 hour and 7 minutes ago, my father brought forth a free documentary on the Civil War. No video store, no trip to the library. For this box is a library of thousands of shows. What is next? Cartoons. We shall now watch cartoons. My name is Tommy, and I have discovered On Demand.
On Demand from Comcast Digital Cable. Just what you want, just when you want it, just not on a dish.
The Citizen Border Patrol group known as the Minutemen have been patrolling a 20-mile stretch of the border between Arizona and Mexico for the past month, and now they want to take it national. Adam Housley is live in Palomonas, Arizona, with more on that story. Hello, Adam.
Hello, Brian. This all began here in the southern Arizona desert back on April 1st with a big orientation, and then the Minutemen hit the ground running, really, on April 2nd. The project itself, at least this latest form of the project, ended just this morning at 6 a.m. And as you mentioned, they're going to spread out to other parts of the country, and I'll have more on that in a moment. First of all, the project here encompassed nearly 1,000 volunteers, 20,000 others signed up for possible future operations around the country. Then late yesterday afternoon, we had a chance to catch up with the final group. Some people coming from as far away as northern Nevada, others. We met a couple that came here from San Diego. They were here as they heard the rules and the regulations from Chris Simcox, who's the organizer and the catalyst of this movement. He says the criticism from human rights groups and others was unfounded, and they proved it by peacefully identifying a problem while getting Washington to address it.
All of the volunteers exemplary in their sticking to the standard operating procedure, knowing that they would be held to a higher standard than most, and knowing that we had to, again, be responsible to get our point across.
Okay, Brian, you're looking alive. These are some of the vehicles that the Minutemen have actually been sleeping in. Some of these people have been here for a month sleeping in vans. Others come for just a weekend. As you move across me, behind me in the far distance, you'll see the tree line. That's actually the border with Mexico. And you can see how close this parsonage, the house here behind the church next door to where our location is, they actually put up a barbed wire fence because the illegal immigrants were coming across, climbing over his former fence, and even sleeping in the little fort that he had built for his grandchildren behind the home here. Since he put the fence up, they now actually go out and around. Brian, the next operation we're being told that they're shooting for the 1st of June in the San Diego area in California. They're also looking at operations in Michigan and Vermont. They say that these 20,000 volunteers are planning on coming to these 3 locations and possibly others as this project continues to grow. Brian?
All right, Adam Housley in Arizona on the border today. Thanks a lot, Adam. Syria has pulled out of Lebanon, but at the same time is coming under renewed scrutiny. Did Syria provide a hiding place for Iraq's weapons of mass destruction? We'll explore that with General Tom McInerney. Then a new machine that detects concussions on the sidelines. We'll show you some high-tech headgear that could save careers and maybe lives. And outwardly, they were a happy couple. So just what was going on that gave this bride one of the most dramatic cases of cold feet in recent history? We'll continue to look at that story throughout the day. Back in a moment.
Do you really love your pet? Then treat him like one of the family with the Pet Groom Pro, the ionic breakthrough in pet care. Look, shedding fur makes the home a mess. And where there's fur, there's allergens and odors too. Odors are their way of telling you they're not clean. But Pet Groom Pro bathes your pet in cleansing ions instead of soap and water, like a waterless bath. That's right, its remarkable ionic grooming power emits millions of cleansing ions that neutralize odor-causing bacteria and impurities as you brush. The patented faceplate captures it all like a magnet, and it cleans off in a snap. Look again. Odors, allergens, dander, and shedding off your pet and out of your house. No other brush in the world cleans and cleans up like it. It's battery-powered, completely silent, so even jumpy pets stay calm. No more bath time battles. No soap, no water, no mess. Pet Groom Pro cleans, conditions, and neutralizes bacteria and odors in one easy motion. Your furniture stays cleaner, and you and your pet stay as close as can be. You'll love them no matter what. But the Pet Groom Pro makes your home more livable and your pet more lovable. Trips to the groomers are expensive, and they're tough on your pet too. Ionic air purifiers cost hundreds of dollars, but now you get the same powerful technology in the palm of your hand for just $14.99. But wait, order right now, and as a special bonus, you'll get our Sonic Flea Collar that controls fleas without chemicals or pesticide and never wears out. A $20 value, absolutely free. That's right, you get both the Pet Groom Pro and the Sonic Flea Collar, an incredible $60 value for just $14.99. But you have to call now. Here's how to order.
To order your Pet Groom Pro, have your credit card ready and call 1-800-248-7922. That's 1-800-248-7922. So don't delay. Call 1-800-248-7922. That's 1-800-248-7922. Call now.
Tonight at 6, stepping up Social Security and enforcing his energy plan. Will Bush be able to sway the Senate? Then at 6:30, clouded with questions, we expose the truth about who's really running the Al Jazeera network. This weekend, still the one network where more Americans turn for their news. Tonight, protecting our kids. It's a special 2-hour block. At 8, hear one city's controversial plan to keep sex offenders out of their town. Then at 9, how can you protect your child? John Walsh has insight and analysis. Tonight, we're still the one network for real journalism, fair and balanced.
It is time for a quick check of today's headlines. Let's go to Paige Hopkins, standing by at the Fox News desk in New York. Hello, Paige.
Hello, Brian. Hello, everybody. Well, a runaway bride apparently had no idea she was the focus of national media attention. That's according to the woman's pastor. Police say Jennifer Wilbanks hopped on a bus on Tuesday, traveled to Las Vegas and New Mexico after getting cold feet. She was supposed to be married today. According to the pastor, who was supposed to be presiding over the wedding, Wilbanks' fiancé bears no hostility towards Jennifer. The U.S. military launching an airstrike on suspected terror camps in central Afghanistan. Warplanes pounding terror targets. 4 terror thugs were actually killed in that attack. 3 civilians also died there. Pope Benedict XVI ready to address the faithful from the papal apartment. It will be the Pope's first Sunday blessing from the studio window. Today, Pope Benedict moved into the apartment, taking possession of the papal residence. He will greet pilgrims from the spot John Paul II appeared for the last time in public on March 30th. And an early tsunami warning system will be in place in Thailand by next month. The prime minister of that country saying the system will reach the 6 coastal provinces affected by last year's deadly waves. Officials say the system is designed to send alerts to cell phones, televisions, and radio stations. Thailand plans to install a more sophisticated system in the near future. And that is a look at some of the latest headlines. I'm Paige Hopkins. Back to Brian Wilson in Washington for more Weekend Live.
All right, Paige, thanks. 2 separate terror attacks in Cairo today. The first happened near an Egyptian museum, killing 1 person. The second occurred in Islamic Old Cairo. Mike Tobin is live in our Mideast Bureau with more on this. Hello, Mike.
Hello, Brian. Yeah, these near simultaneous attacks appear to be targeting tourists. Right now, we know through the authorities that 2 people are dead, and the authorities say both of them appear to be attackers. The first attack was a bomb that exploded right next to a bridge near a museum downtown Cairo. The bomber was killed and 3 people injured. People at the scene said the blast was so loud they thought the whole bridge was going to come down. Body parts went flying in every direction. The foreign ministry in Israel now confirms that 2 of the injured are Israeli tourists. There are reports that the other injured tourist is Italian. Now, the Egyptian Interior Ministry says the bomber is Ihab Yusri Yassin. He is a man wanted in connection with a bombing at a Cairo bazaar April 7th, 3 weeks ago. That killed 3 people. Authorities say they were pursuing him when he jumped off a bridge down into the crowd outside of that museum popular with tourists, and he detonated his bomb. Now, 2 hours later, women wearing Islamic veils opened fire on a tour bus. The authorities say that 3 people were injured, but these 2 gunwomen did not succeed in killing any of the people on the tour bus. However, according to the Egyptian Interior Ministry, 1 of the women was killed. We've got conflicting reports as to whether she was killed by a guard or if her the other gunwoman turned and shot her there at the scene. The information we're getting out of Cairo is a bit patchy right now. In fact, it's not even clear if the second gunwoman is included among the statistics of those who are injured. Brian?
All right, Mike Tobin reporting from our Mideast Bureau. Thanks, Mike. It's been an up-and-down week in Iraq. Huge steps forward in self-governing, but it was not without attacks and terrorist activity. Orlando Salinas is live in Baghdad with more on this story. Hello, Orlando.
Hey, Brian, let's talk first about this gruesome discovery that happened about 180 miles south of Baghdad. We do have forensic experts, DNA experts, as well as Iraqi soldiers who are simply out there moving bodies. This after about some 20 hours news breaking that in a town called Samahwa at a mass grave, as many as 1,500 bodies have been found. The site was discovered in the early last year, identified the U.S. Coalition Provisional Authority, the CPA, but military officials say a well-defined examination didn't begin until early this month. Now, a handful of news organizations, Brian, knew about those graves. They've known about them for a couple of weeks, but were asked by the military to please don't release any information. They didn't want any villagers rushing the site, disturbing the evidence. It's happened in the past at other sites. Locals came in, anguished, digging with their hands, destroyed the case for good evidence. This time authorities wanted a textbook case of how to gather usable evidence. Authorities say most of the victims appear to be women and children who reportedly were lined up in front of those mass graves and then shot. Most, if not all, appear to be Kurds. Back in '91, Saddam Hussein ordered a crackdown around that area. As many as 27 grave sites have been found around that region. Now, a day after some 17 car bombs go off here in Baghdad, mostly around this capital city, 3 more car bombs did go off today. They happened in 3 different areas, the western, the eastern, a couple in the eastern. Iraqi police say all those attacks were aimed primarily at military patrols, mostly Iraqi patrols. Now, one car bomb did go off just as a joint U.S.-Iraqi patrol was going by in eastern Baghdad, passing a police station. Another car bomb exploded just as U.S. troops were driving by. It happened in Baghdad's west side. The third car bomb, as we understand it, happened. It did go off as a different U.S. patrol was going by. A total of at least 4 people killed today, nearly 20 more hurt. Yesterday, more than 50 people were killed in a series of some 17 car bomb attacks that took place yesterday, with more than 100 people being hurt. Brian?
Orlando Salinas, thank you much. How close is North Korea to testing a nuclear weapon? Some say it could happen as early as this summer. Kelly Wright is live in Washington, where he's been following details of this story. Hello, Kelly.
Brian, good afternoon to you. Diplomats tell the Associated Press the United States is now warning allies about North Korea conducting a possible underground nuclear test as early as June. Now, the word comes after President Bush and lawmakers in Washington expressed concerns that North Korea may be able to mount a nuclear device on a missile capable of striking targets within the United States. In fact, earlier this week, Vice Admiral Lowell Jacoby discussed the theoretical capability before members of the Armed Services Committee.
So the 2-stage you are testifying is already within their operational capacity.
Assessed to be within their capacity, yes.
And that's the west coast of the United States.
I would need to look at the range arcs. It's certainly Alaska and Hawaii, and I believe a portion of the Northwest.
Vice Admiral Jacoby, now before taking on his new role as president of the World Bank, outgoing Deputy Secretary of Defense Paul Wolfowitz discussed the nuclear arms threat in North Korea, saying it's hard to know the level of North Korea's weapons of mass destruction capabilities because it is a regime that enforces secrecy with a ruthlessness that cannot be imagined.
The North Koreans claim they have these capabilities. Physically, they've had the time to put it together. It's reasonable to believe that they do.
President Bush said he doesn't know if North Korea has the capability or not, but added that when you're dealing with a, quote, tyrant like Kim Jong-il, today North Korea is reacting to President Bush's description of Kim, the foreign minister branding President Bush as a hooligan and a cowboy. And beyond the war of words with North Korea, the United States is also expressing concern about Iran, which poses a possible nuclear threat. The European Union had tried to reach an accord with Iran to curb its nuclear ambition. But today, AP reporting Iran is warning that it may resume uranium enrichment next week. And Iran's warning could cause the United States to take the matter to the United Nations Security Council for possible economic sanctions, something that the United States has been threatening to do if Iran did not curb its appetite. Brian?
All right. Thank you, Kelly. Appreciate it. Today marks a historical milestone in U.S. history. 30 years since the fall of Saigon and the end of the Vietnam War. Hundreds of people traveled to the Vietnam Memorial in Washington, D.C. today for a wreath-laying ceremony to honor the more than 58,000 men and women who served and lost their lives in that conflict. President Bush made a rare appearance in a prime time at a news conference on Thursday. What was his objective, and did he accomplish that goal? Then you've heard of hurricane and even tornado warnings, but what about volcano warnings? I'm not kidding you. My jaw fell open when I read this next story. We'll tell you about it after the break.
Imagine a best-selling minivan, now at a 5-star crash safety rating, and give it a longer powertrain warranty. Back it with 5 years roadside assistance and price it right. What would you have? The Kia Sedona. It's not only a better value, it's a smarter buy. Get a 2005 Sedona for $18,120 after $3,000 cash back. Hurry, offer ends soon.
You know where a ship goes when it gets sick? To the dock!
Repeat after me en español. Coche compacto.
It's amazing! Put it on my bill because it saw the salad dressing! That's the best today!
Coche muy compacto. La Quinta. It's tough out there, but here, everything's a little brighter, a little warmer. Everything's La Quinta.
Sir, why are we meeting in the shower?
Well, ideas always hit me in my shower at home, and our first store opens next week, so any ideas?
FedEx Kinko's. For signs, banners, printing invitations, even shipping.
Wow, this shower thing really does work.
FedEx Kinko's. Make it, print it, pack it, ship it.
Johnson, Smith here tells me he's now fired you 15 times. Yet every day, here you are. So why don't you leave?
Kellogg's Raisin Bran Crunch with honey granola clusters, crunchy flakes, and tasty raisins.
I understand you. You don't take no for an answer, do you? Smith, be more like Johnson.
Kellogg's Raisin Bran Crunch. Sounds good.
This week we saw President Bush make a primetime pitch to the nation in a live news conference in the White House. So how did he do, and did he advance his agenda as far as he had hoped? Ken Walsh is chief White House correspondent for U.S. News and World Report. He joins us now with his political scorecard. Well, I mean, the president making some bold gestures here. I mean, one way or the other, whether you agree with them or not, you have to admit that they were rather bold gestures. How did it play?
Right. Well, you know, we have to be careful about the immediate polls, but basically on the Hill, there wasn't a lot of movement, and I think this was a big gamble on the president's part that by putting these benefit cuts, or the notion of the cut and the growth of benefits on the table, that he was going to sort of shake this whole system up and change the dynamic, which is really stalled on Social Security reform. Now the ball bounces to the committees in the House and Senate, and so there's a lot of talk now that Republican-controlled committees are really going to move this legislation. But so far the Democrats haven't moved at all. They still oppose these private retirement accounts.
Yeah. So is this something that it's just that it's so politically dangerous to mess with this that nobody really wants to get involved, especially when, as the Democrats argue, it is so far out before the problem becomes critical.
And it's always tough for Washington to deal with long-term problems.
You're right about that.
Yeah, it has to be sort of something people can see right day to day. And I think what's happened here is that, you know, this idea of the Social Security as the third rail of American politics, President Bush has talked about it in both of his presidential campaigns, but now we're getting up to the midterm period for the congressional campaigns. They're not worried about posterity or legacy. They're worried about getting reelected next year, and that's where the Republicans have their problem.
So where's it going?
Well, I think you're going to see, you know, the question is now whether the House goes first or the Senate goes first in Social Security overhaul. I think, you know, my feeling is that the Senate will go first because the Senate is where the real problem is. That's where the stall is really most clear. And so the Republicans don't want their House members to have to vote on controversial things that won't pass the Senate. So I think you'll see the real focus on Senator Grassley's committee. But I think it's still a very tough slog for the president. I don't see much movement here at all.
But I don't see him giving up.
No, he won't give up. I mean,
he said if he has to talk about this every day for the rest of his term in the office, that he will do so.
Right. Well, I think that he said that, but you know, we have a historical model here. Remember when Bill Clinton proposed health care reform in his first term? He stayed with it over and over and over again, and he was beating his head against the wall. That hurt his perception of effectiveness. That's the next step for President Bush. He has to decide how much he's going to stay with this, or how much it then starts to look like a losing proposition, and his effectiveness is diminished.
There was some interesting politics going on behind the scenes about the president and his desire to get on national TV. Talk about that just a bit.
Exactly. Well, initially, the announcement was made that the press conference was going to be at 8:30. And so then as the late afternoon went on, we were getting leaked word that it was going to be moved to 8 o'clock. It turned out that the 8:30 press conference, which was going to run about an hour, would start to move into the very popular programs, and this is a sweeps period of ratings, and the White House was running into things like Survivor and Apprentice and other shows.
You couldn't mess with Donald Trump.
Donald Trump, right. And so actually a compromise was reached. This press conference started at 8. It didn't have to interfere with that 9 o'clock programming, and President Bush got off the air right on time.
All right, Ken, it's good to have you here. Thanks for joining us. Stay right there. You know, this is the story that I was telling you about. Here's one for you. The scientists with the U.S. Geological Survey say volcanoes in the western part of the United States pose a, quote, very high threat to people, and they're asking for help. A new report says volcanoes that make up the Cascade Mountain Range are a natural disaster waiting to happen. Officials who say there are about 19 mountains they consider threats are going to ask Congress and the government to help with the money needed to monitor the situation. Look at all those red spots. All the people that live in that zone Oh, my gosh. Well, now it's time for a quick check of the forecast. Let's not think about that too much. Chris Knowles is at the Fox Weather Center with details. Hello, Chris.
Now, we're not going to go down the path of volcanoes, but we will show you plenty of wicked weather out there threatening many parts of the nation today. Denver, you know, they were 30 degrees below normal for their temperature readings yesterday, warming up this slightly, but a rain-snow mix is in their forecast for today. And check out this nasty business down in the southeast. Got an area of low pressure sitting right up about here in West Virginia. It stretches down south, and this is where the most severe weather will occur today, and that may include some tornado activity, hail, winds, thunderstorm activity, and you can see the nasty red. And whenever you see red on our radar map, you know it is nasty, and the yellow business as well. Here are your severe thunderstorm watches in effect. We do have some tornado watches in effect for the far western parishes, or far eastern parishes, I should say, of Louisiana through Alabama into Mississippi as well. Could see some severe flooding in parts of the southeast as they expect 3 to 4 inches of rain, and all the way up the mid-Atlantic region, including Washington, D.C. Yes, the beautiful city of our nation's capital. Maybe some capital punishment out there. A stormy Saturday, Brian. Damaging winds and heavy downpours, unfortunately, throughout the day. But the good news, clearing by tomorrow. Now back to you.
All right. Thank you much, Chris. She took her family and friends on a wild ride over a case of cold feet. With so many high-profile abductions in the news these days, how is law enforcement reacting to the surprising outcome of this Jennifer Wilbanks case? And the president needs protection. Thank goodness Ice Cube was available to take time out of his busy schedule as the rapper to help the commander-in-chief. Bill McCuddy shines the Fox life on the action-adventure with attitude. Stay with us, everyone.
Your world, Fox News.
Once, a great night's sleep was easy to catch, but now it seems so fleeting. Your restless mind keeps chasing sleep away.
I've got to pay those bills. Did I call the electrician? Why did I promise I'd go tomorrow?
Introducing Lunesta, a sleep aid that can give you and your restless mind the sleep you need. Lunesta helps most people sleep all through the night and works quickly, so take it right before bed. And Lunesta is non-narcotic and the only prescription sleep aid approved for long-term use. Of course, do not use sleep medicines for extended periods without first talking to your doctor. Be sure you have at least 8 hours to devote to sleep before becoming active. Until you know how you'll react to Lunesta, you should not drive or operate machinery. Avoid taking Lunesta with alcohol. All sleep medicines carry some risk of dependency. Side effects may include unpleasant taste, headache, drowsiness, and dizziness. Ready to catch a great night's sleep? Just climb into bed and leave the rest to Lunesta.
It's Fun Time RV's spring sale, and we've got great deals on these 19-foot Salem LE travel trailers at just $99.95. And we've got financing for almost anyone. Or check out this Traillight 27 travel trailer. It's got a large slide out and tons of accessories. It sleeps 6. Or if you really want a motorhome, we've also got Traillight 28 motorhomes. It's got all the accessories you'll want, plus 2 slide outs. Come see us before our spring sale ends at Fun Time RV, where you have a friend from the factory. Visit us in Hillsboro and Tualatin.
Captain Video Home Theater presents a 3-day special Pioneer Factory authorized event. The finest in plasma television on display with the experts here to answer your questions. 3 days only, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. See the Pioneer and Pioneer Elite plasma TVs with special factory event pricing. The Pioneer technical team will be here. Don't miss it. Only a factory can do this. Friday through Sunday and only at Captain Video Home Theater. I-5 at 217 across from Chevy's.
What's up, Portland? Please join Heather Frelia and myself, John Olson, on PD Exposed every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at 7 p.m. and also Friday and Saturday at 11 p.m. on CNW 14. Our show is all about having fun in and around our gorgeous Rose City. We feature Northwest musicians, hotspots, and nightlife on every show. From the mountains to the ocean, we expose all the cool stuff along the way. So please join us every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at 7 p.m. and again Friday and Saturdays at 11 p.m. on CNW 14. You never know. You just might find yourself PD Exposed.
Do you find the idea of getting a satellite system appealing but confusing? There are so many choices, and what you don't know might end up disappointing you or costing you more than it should. Fortunately, there's help. The Satellite Entertainment Information Center has prepared this terrific free brochure that tells you just about everything you need to know to make a good decision. The call is free. The information is free. Just call 1-888-DISH-HELP right now. That's 1-888-DISH-HELP.
Jurors in the Michael Jackson molestation trial were shown 2 picture books yesterday with photos of naked boys seized from the entertainer's Neverland estate during an August 1993 police raid. The books, entitled Boys Will Be Boys and The Boy, a Photographic Essay, were taken when Los Angeles police were investigating molestation allegations against Jackson that were later dropped when Jackson agreed to pay a multi-million-dollar out-of-court settlement. Well, it is time for our buddy Bill McCuddy. He's here with a look at the latest hot spring flicks and some other entertaining insights. Bill, what kind of madness do you have for us today?
Well, I think the biggest madness right off the top before we get to the movies has to be the supposed romance now of Tom Cruise at something like 5'5", and Katie Holmes, who in flats is about 5'11", so he now has another woman he can look up to after Nicole Kidman. But I think we're getting punked big time here because they both have movies coming out, and he normally stays away from the paparazzi, and this time while in Rome staged a kiss and all sorts of hand-holding, and so the thinking now is that
let me stop.
this isn't for real.
I read something here that he is reported to have said. She was quoted as saying, you know, when I was just a teenager, I dreamed of marrying Tom Cruise, and he said separately when told of this, well, I don't want to disappoint her. What's going on there?
What's going on is that they both have movies coming out. One for Tom Cruise, seriously, is The War of the Worlds. You know, his last 3 movies didn't make as much as they were supposed to, Collateral being one of them, The Last Samurai another, and Minority Report. So he's got to have a big hit now with War of the Worlds, a movie that really is bigger than him. And it comes out in June. She has a new motion picture coming out where she's cheating on Tom Cruise, actually. She's the girlfriend of Bruce Wayne in the new Batman movie, and that's coming out in June. They both have something to gain from getting some notoriety right now.
All right, let's talk about a couple movies real quick since we talked about it. State of the Union with Ice Cube.
Well, Triple X State of the Union. This is the new Triple X. Vin Diesel was the last one. They couldn't afford him, so now the franchise is going to change Triple X's each time. This one is based on a bunch of hip-hop gangbangers defending the President of the United States. So it's based on a true story. They drive around in a lot of Hummers, and they surround the Capitol, and it's just madness. There's no story, but what do you want from a video game, which is basically what we're looking at here. Ice Cube is buffed up. He gave me a rap name now. I'm known to him as Slush Puppy.
Slush Puppy.
Yeah, kind of sad.
Also, this movie, which looks kind of intriguing, at least the previews do, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Well, boy, never have the critics been more divided in a motion picture. This one, they either love it or hate it. It's based loosely on not only some books, but a 1982 PBS series that some say did a better job with 1/10 of the budget. I love Sam Rockwell and can think he do no wrong, but again, it's 2 divided camps. People say you have to know about this franchise to go in because otherwise you need a decoder ring.
Yeah, a decoder ring. Oh, that's a great line. Hey, also, there's a lot of stuff going on right now with the American Idol. Now, I don't particularly follow this, but I know that there's a big controversy following Paula Abdul. What say you, Bill McCuddy?
Well, Primetime Live says they have all sorts of backstage complaints from people who've gotten booted off the show. Paula has admitted that she uses painkillers or has in the past and is trying to get off of those. That would explain some unusual behavior. But Simon came out the other day and said, look, if Paula goes backstage and talks to some of the contestants, as Primetime Live has indicated, that's because she likes some of the contestants. She tries to give everybody encouragement. There's no problem, remember, with those people picking favorites because ultimately we at home get to make the final vote with our phone.
Yeah, but that's not what I'm talking about. What about the report that she had a thing with one of the people who was on the show?
Well, I don't know about that. You know, listen, they've been saying that she has a thing with Simon on the side, too. I'm not sure that she would remember in the state I see her in sometimes. Look, it's just hearsay at this point, and I don't think that there's anything to it, but we'll see. And we hope that she is, whatever gremlins she has to face down, that she can face them as well.
All right, Bill McCuddy, thank you. you so much. Good to have you, buddy.
Thanks.
The missing woman who turned out to be a runaway bride. We'll go live to Duluth, Georgia for the latest on this national abduction story that turned out to be a case of cold feet. And the Minutemen Citizens Group has been watching the Arizona-Mexican border for about a month. Now they want to expand their efforts to other states, maybe even the Canadian border. We'll talk to them in the next hour. Stay with us, everyone.
Adaptive headlights, designed to anticipate what lies ahead. Unsurpassed 335 horsepower, designed to leave all others behind. The luxury sedan, designed to outperform. Introducing the all-new M from Infiniti.
Take me fishing and show me how to drive the boat.
Take me fishing, so we'll always have something in common.
Take me fishing, because my wedding will be sooner than you think.
Rediscover the joy of boating and fishing. Visit takemefishing.org.
Hey, Dad, what's up?
We're trying to do something creative for Mother's Day.
Nice thought. But there's an easier way to give a personal gift. Send a Vermont teddy bear made just for her. Just call one of their friendly bear counselors or shop online at VermontTeddyBear.com. Over 100 bears to choose from, handmade in Vermont and guaranteed for life. Like the gardening bear, the pregnancy bear, and the mama's boy bear.
Hey, Tony, this one looks just like you.
My mom's a nurse.
Oh, they got you covered.
My wife raised 5 kids.
Check out the Mother and Cub set. Add as many cubs as you need, and they'll add the names to the outfits. And they even guarantee overnight delivery to home or work.
Guys, this is terrific. It's as easy as sending flowers. It lasts forever, and there's no mess to clean up. We're gonna look like heroes.
Mother's Day is this Sunday, so call now. Shop online at VermontTeddyBear.com. It's the Mother's Day gift she's going to love forever.
Sunday, damage control for delay as accusations lead to an investigation. How will he respond to the House Ethics Committee? Brian Wilson has all the latest on Weekend Live. Fox News Channel, still the one network where more Americans turn for their news. Tonight at 10, Rosie's on a rampage, bashes Bush.
He is basically a war criminal.
Defends her marriage.
It was also an act of civil disobedience.
And supports Hanoi Jane. It's an explosive at large. Then at 11, Senator Mitch McConnell on After Hours.
The nation watched and authorities and friends and family searched and hoped and prayed for the safe return of Jennifer Wilbanks. Well, she is safe. She's been found, and as it turns out, it was a case of cold feet that caused this bride to run away. Todd Connor is live in Duluth with the very latest. Hello, Todd.
Hey, Brian. The marriage that was supposed to take place between John and Jennifer at this church behind me for now postponed. Some might believe that it might never take place, but that's a question to be answered later. Right now, the family most concerned about getting Jennifer back home and helping her deal with the issues that caused her to become that runaway bride-to-be. The mood right now described as positive at the home where John and Jennifer were to live. We saw Jennifer's mother and her husband leave this morning, possibly to catch a flight to Albuquerque. However, we later found out 6 family members had canceled the reservations, possibly booking other flights. Meanwhile, Jennifer's fiance John is supposedly resting, but here's what a family minister had to say.
John has spoken with Jennifer. There's no hostility. Obviously, there's all kinds of emotions, and I can't speak for John.
Earlier this morning, John Mason had walked out on his porch giving a victory sign to friends and family after hearing his wife-to-be was alive and safe in New Mexico, and after spending some time on the phone with her. That's when the roller coaster of emotion that friends and family have been riding hit its highest point since she disappeared 4 days ago. But within only a few hours, they all realized they were in for another ride as Jennifer caught a ride on a Greyhound bus, overcome by the stress of being part of such a huge wedding.
Sure, we were all disappointed, maybe a little embarrassed, But you know what? If you remember all the interviews yesterday, we were praying, at this point, let her be a runaway bride. So God was faithful. Jennifer's alive, and we're all thankful for that.
Well, they got what they prayed for. Brian, we were just finding out, too, not too long ago, that last week, April 19th, someone matching Jennifer's description, going by the name of Wendy Mason, actually bought a Greyhound bus ticket in Gainesville. That's where Jennifer is from, by the way. It was used a week later, this past Tuesday, the same night that Jennifer went missing. It was a one-way ticket out of Atlanta. That is the latest from here. Back to you, Brian.
All right, thank you, Todd. The Minutemen Citizens Border Control Group has considered their past month's work along the Arizona-Mexican border to be a big success, so much so that they have plans to expand it to a national basis. Adam Housley is live in Palominas, Palominas, Arizona, with the latest on this story. Hello, Adam.
Hello, Brian. They do have plans to advance it, and as you mentioned, California is the next place. We'll talk about that in a moment. First of all, the final meeting and press conference begins here in Arizona in about an hour or so. The operation, the first one of its kind, began back on April 1st with really the Minutemen hitting the ground on April 2nd, and it continued until this morning at 6 a.m. local time when this operation ended. It encompassed nearly 1,000 volunteers. 20,000 others signed up for possible future operations around the country via the website. Chris Simcox is the organizer and catalyst of this movement. He says that the criticism from human rights groups and others was unfounded, and they proved it by peacefully identifying a problem while getting Washington to address it. Now, late yesterday afternoon, we had a chance to catch up with the final group as they prepared to go out for their 8-hour shift. They were hearing some rules and regulations, but they saw two of the people we talked to, a couple, says it's not about racism. They came here because it's about protecting our border.
Legal immigration is fine. People come from all over the world to this great country, and that's fine, you know. There's nothing against it. I know a lot of people who are from Hispanic origins who are supporting this operation, you know. But I might have a Hispanic last name, but I'm a proud American, and I'm just trying to help out my country.
That was David Cruz, once again, one of the volunteers that was here yesterday. He's also here this morning for the final meeting. You're taking a look now at some of the vehicles, Brian, that some of these volunteers have called home either for a weekend or for a night, in some cases for a month, as they stayed out here in the Arizona desert. Now, as the photographer passes by him, you'll see in the far distance the trees. That's actually the border with Mexico, and it's a short distance from this parsonage behind the church that we're next to. And you can see they put a cyclone fence with barbed wire on the top to keep out the illegal immigrants, because they were actually coming over his old fence and going into a fort that he had built for his grandchildren. So that's just some of the issues that's happening here along the border. He says that since the Minutemen have been here, the numbers have gone down considerably, and we're hearing that from people that live all along this area, Brian, where these people have been doing work for the last month. Brian?
All right, Adam Housley in Arizona. Good to have you there, Adam. Appreciate you joining us. You know, this has been a story that we've been following here on Weekend Live for some time now, and it's controversial. Some people say, look, it's working. It's very effective. They are slowing down the number of illegal immigrants coming across the borders. At the same time, others are saying, well, hold on a minute. These people shouldn't be doing the work of the government. It is controversial. Joining us now is one of the Minutemen's co-founders, Chris Simcox, to talk about what is going to happen next. Chris, what are the plans? Where do you want to go? And as you look back on your 1-month experiment, how effective do you believe you've really been?
Well, it's clear this is the most effective civil defense movement in this country since World War II, and that's what we're going to revive, the civil defense movement, not only on the southern border, but the northern border. Our country needs our help right now. They obviously can't deal with this situation, and it's up to the citizens to rise to the occasion and do what we can to help, and we've proven that here during April.
Okay, so where do you want to go next?
Well, next we start in San Diego with a 3-mile sector of the border there, just at the beach. A spot where they're trying to raise money, of course, or to clear the way to finish the fence in that area. New Mexico will be next, hopefully by July. If Congress or the President don't respond by putting the National Guard on the border here, in October we plan on a simultaneous 4 southern border state initiative that could involve up to 10,000 to 15,000 people.
Chris, initially a lot of the politicians were very wary of you. And your group, not you personally, but what you were doing down there. Now, all of a sudden, you seem to be changing some of the minds and hearts in Washington. Talk about that.
Well, we've shown the rest of the country that, you know, we shouldn't be afraid of each other. I mean, we have an issue here. We have a terrible problem with national security. It's up to the citizens to rise to the occasion. Our reputation speaks for itself, and we've redefined the kind of character that Americans have been known for centuries. I mean, we see a problem, we roll up our sleeves, we get the job done, we work within the law, we're humane and compassionate, but we're also pretty tough and tenacious when it comes to this. We want our borders secured.
And which politicians have you talked to in Washington, some of the hearts and minds that you may have persuaded?
Well, as I stated in Washington, this is a nonpartisan issue. This is about the security of the United States. And it's Democrats as well as Republicans. John Kerry said that he supported what we were doing on the Democratic side. Ed Royce out of California, said so. Even the governor of California, supports this and is looking forward to us coming and working in California. Now we need the governor of Arizona to respond. She's remained silent and wary. Let's hope that we've changed their minds and proven to the rest of the country this job can be done.
Yeah, I guess the question is, okay, if it's just guys sitting on the border with their binoculars and their cell phones, not really too much problem. I guess the fear is that you might get some groups that decide to go a little further. How do you guard against that?
Well, we have a very strict screening process, very thorough vetting process. We'll continue to tighten that up. We've learned some lessons during this operation. We're going to package this and we're going to expand it to other states with retired military veterans, law enforcement veterans, some of the best people in this country who've already served their country and are willing to serve again in a responsible way.
And I think it's interesting to note that while the many of the officials in this country have not been particularly endorsing what you're doing, the men and women on the front lines, I am told, are very supportive of what you're doing there.
Yes. In fact, the community is kind of concerned about what's going to happen now that we're leaving. They don't want us to leave for the first time in years. People that have lived here for decades feel safe. Their neighborhoods are quiet. We've seen a dramatic decrease in the number of crossings in this area. So we will continue. We're going to take about 2 weeks off, reevaluate, and we'll hit the ground running here again in Cochise County and continue indefinitely until, again, the governor or the Congress support us with National Guard troops. That's the only thing that's going to stop this and bring it under control.
Chris Simcox, one of the co-founders of the Minutemen down in Arizona, we thank you for joining us.
Pleasure. Thanks.
Have a good day. A nuclear weapons test in North Korea may be imminent. In fact, it could happen by June. Kelly Wright is live in Washington with the latest on this story. Hello, Kelly.
Hey, Brian. It's cause for concern, too. Diplomats telling the Associated Press that the United States is warning allies about North Korea conducting a possible underground nuclear test as early as June. Just as you said, it's a true indication that the stalemate continues between North Korea and the United States. Now, the word comes after President Bush and lawmakers in Washington expressed concerns that North Korea may be able to mount a nuclear device on a missile capable of striking targets within the U.S. In fact, earlier this week, Senator Hillary Clinton, a member of the Armed Services Committee, discussed the matter with Vice Admiral Lowell Jacoby.
So the two-stage you are testifying is already within their operational capacity.
Assessed to be within their capacity, yes.
And that's the west coast of the United States.
I would need to look at the range arcs. It's certainly Alaska and Hawaii, and I believe a portion of the Northwest.
And before taking on his new role as president of the World Bank, outgoing Deputy Secretary of Defense Paul Wolfowitz discussed the nuclear arms threat in North Korea, saying it's hard to know the level of North Korea's weapons of mass destruction because it is a regime that enforces secrecy with a ruthlessness that cannot be imagined.
The North Koreans claim they have these capabilities. Physically, they've had the time to put it together. It's reasonable to believe that they do.
Bush said he doesn't know if North Korea has the capability or not of launching a nuclear strike, but added that when you're dealing with a tyrant like Kim Jong-il, but the possibility does exist. Now, today, North Korea is reacting to President Bush's description of Kim, the foreign minister branding President Bush as a hooligan and a cowboy. Beyond the war of words with North Korea, the U.S. is also expressing concern about Iran, which poses a possible nuclear threat. The European Union had tried to reach an accord with Iran to curb its nuclear ambition, but today, AP reports Iran is warning that it may resume uranium enrichment sometime next week. And Iran's warning could cause the United States to take the matter further to the United Nations Security Council for possible economic sanctions. Brian, back to you.
Kelly Wright here in Washington. Thanks, Kelly. How did the president's primetime performance play with the nation? We'll talk to one of the pollsters, a couple of pollsters actually, about what they thought. Then we'll have a live report on the terror strikes near tourist destinations in Egypt. Just who was the target of these attacks? Stay with us, everyone.
Pencil-thin figures, healthy bodies, boring multivitamin pills, new Viactive multivitamin chews, delicious chews with essential vitamins women need, new Viactive, the multivitamin women want.
Too much credit card debt? Is your credit less than perfect? Then log on or call Ditech.com. Ditech can help you to consolidate your high interest and credit card debt into one low monthly payment or put cash in your pocket. Call 1-800-DITECH-1.
Imagine a best-selling minivan, now at a 5-star crash safety rating, and give it a longer powertrain warranty. Back it with 5 years roadside assistance and price it right. What would you have? The Kia Sedona. It's not only a better value, it's a smarter buy. Get a 2005 Sedona for $18,120 after $3,000 cash back. Hurry, offer ends soon.
Today, Best Buy gives you the power to control KG with one finger. Watch. The games, the stuff, it all comes together right here. Best Buy, thousands of possibilities. Get yours.
If you've got broadband, you're ready to go. Visit Vonage.com or call toll-free 888-747-4VON. Now available at Best Buy, Circuit City, and CompUSA.
President Bush tried to jumpstart his second-term agenda this week, pushing hard for Social Security, his nominees, and his energy plan. Joining me to talk about Bush's performance and potential impact on public opinion are two top pollsters. First, from New York, Democratic pollster Doug Schoen, and joining me here in the studio is Republican pollster Ed Goaz. A couple of absolute top pros in their field. We're glad to have you both.
Thank you.
Ed, let me start with you, if I could, please. How do you look at what has happened this week and the president's agenda? Is he making progress? Or, as Democrats argue, is he kind of hitting a wall?
Well, he's absolutely making progress. If you look at the fact that he has moved Social Security to #1 on the agenda for the American public, most important problem to address, it's very simple. I mean, issues go through phases. You talk about the problem, you talk about solutions, you implement solutions. And right now, we are coming to the tail end of talking about the problem, with your own poll shows 75% of the American public believing that Social Security needs to be addressed and needs to be addressed today.
But, Doug, what's your take on all this? Because some of the polls indicate that people don't want to mess with it. What are you seeing?
My polls and the polls of the media suggest something very different from what Ed's saying. 63% give the president negative ratings on his handling of Social Security. Close to 47% give him overall job approval, his lowest of the presidency. And I think with him now going for a means-tested Social Security, breaking the compact with the American people, which has always regarded Social Security as an insurance program, the president is going to see his ratings drop, not increase.
And I have to say, I mean, it is not the lowest ratings of his presidency. In fact, Fox Dynamics had on the day before the election 47-47 approved, disapproved. Today it's 47-43. His negatives have dropped by 4 points, and this is after he's been out there pushing on Social Security. And I didn't, you know, quite frankly, the way the election turned out in 2004 with that 47-47, you can talk about the glass being half empty or half full. I like the way the election turned out. I think the key point is he's been out there pushing on Social Security. The Democrats have offered no solutions. They're just attacking. And yet you see the president's numbers holding to where it was on the day before the election.
Again, I have to disagree. I think that the president has not governed from the center. He is looking for a narrow sliver of public opinion. The Democrats have said if you take private accounts off the table, they're willing to do business and to try to find a compromise to save Social Security. Congressman Thomas is moving away, I think, from the president with his plan to talk about overall retirement security. And I think if the president and the Republicans start to try to build common ground, as President Clinton did, you'll see a solution to the problem. But absent that, the president is headed for lower ratings and failure.
Ed, what about this idea that the president proposed over at his press conference that says, well, look, when it comes to Social Security, maybe we ought to base it on who has the greatest need. If you make a lot of money or you made a lot of money over your life, maybe you don't need to get all of the Social Security that you have coming to you. Maybe we ought to take care of middle and low-income Americans first. What say you to that?
Well, it's another offer out there by the president to let's put ideas on the table. Let's talk about those ideas. I think what many of the Democrats are not talking about, the reason why they're not coming forward with any solutions at all, and saying the only reason why they're not coming forward with solutions is that they want personal retirement accounts off the table, is that they know that any of the options at this point of things that you need to do to save Social Security is not well received by the voters. The voters are not there yet. They know it's a problem. They're not yet ready to walk through all the solutions that may be on the table. We need to get all the solutions on the table, and we'll find out what is fair and what is not fair.
Doug, what's your take on all this? When you poll people, what do they say about this idea?
What they're saying is that they're, first of all, don't necessarily see a crisis. Second, they want all options on the table considered in a bipartisan way. And what they're basically saying is that they believe that private accounts will jeopardize the core of the program, increase the deficit, and put benefits at risk. So the option that the president proposed of means testing, I think, with the American public is dead on arrival.
All right, gentlemen, good discussion. It's good to have you, Ed. Doug, good to have you there in New York.
Good, thank you, Brian.
See you soon. The elections and new government in Iraq this past week did not come without a surge in terrorist activity. We'll go live to Baghdad for a report. And U.S. forces found no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, but they did find a whole lot of things that lead them to believe that one of Saddam's neighbors could be hiding some of these weapons. Is it time to give Syria a second look? Back in just a moment.
The 270 horsepower Acura TL with DVD audio surround sound and available navigation is part of commutes everywhere. Possibly the best part. The Acura TL, a higher form of performance.
Fred, I want upgrades. More speed, better security, and I want options by Tuesday.
Tuesday?
Yeah.
Oh, no. Rudy, why me?
Look, maybe I can get you some more time.
No, Tuesday's fine. I'll call CDW. We'll work out some options. Rudy.
Nobody responds like CDW. With fast answers to your technology questions, you get what you need when you need it. CDW, the right technology right away.
Thanks for caring, man.
This year, he'll spend 32 hours trimming bushes, 61 hours mowing the lawn, 52 hours watering flowers. But he won't have to refinish his deck for another 4 years. Behr Premium Weatherproofing Wood Sealer and Finish with silicone. 4-year protection against rain, sun, wind, and snow, guaranteed. Behr. Good, better, Behr.
If you have great credit,
Shouldn't you be treated like you do? At eLoan, you are. With a home equity line from eLoan, we process your loan differently. From application to instant decision to appraisal, we do it online. That costs less, so you get a great rate, and we'll even come to you for signing. You get your cash fast in as few as 12 days. You've worked hard for your great credit. The difference is, at eLoan, you're rewarded for it. Apply now at eLoan.com or call 1-800-ELOAN22.
Comcast.
Pay per view.
A superstar on the road to glory, Trinidad is in devastating form. A true champion ready for the spotlight. Right wants to stop him in his tracks. When Invincible meets Indomitable, it's a head-on collision. Trinidad versus Right.
Get the best seat for Fight Night, live May 14th. Call Comcast now to order.
1 hour and 7 minutes ago, my father brought forth a free documentary on the Civil War. No video store, no trip to the library. For this box is a library of thousands of shows. What is next? Cartoons. We shall now watch cartoons. My name is Tommy, and I have discovered On Demand.
On Demand from Comcast Digital Cable. Just what you want, just when you want it. Just not in a dish.
A bomb explodes near a museum, and veiled women open fire on a bus in 2 separate terror attacks in Cairo. Mike Tobin is live in our Mideast Bureau with more on these developing stories. Hello, Mike.
Hello, Brian. These attacks are staggered just 2 hours from each other, and tourists have come under fire in Cairo. The Egyptian Interior Ministry now says that 2 attackers are dead, and we've got late reports of a 3rd attacker dying. Now, the first attack occurred, according to the Egyptian authorities, when a man carrying a bomb jumped off a bridge and exploded at the bottom right next to a popular Egyptian artifact museum. Witnesses say body parts flew all around the area. Some say they thought the bridge was going to come down due to the force of that blast. The bomber was killed and 3 people were injured. 2 of the injured are Israeli tourists. According to reports, the other is Italian. Now, the Egyptian Interior Ministry says the bomber was a man wanted in connection with a bombing 3 weeks ago at a Cairo bazaar, and that killed 3 people. Authorities say they were pursuing him when he jumped off the bridge and detonated his bomb at the bottom. Now, 2 hours later, 2 women wearing veils opened fire on a tourist bus. They didn't kill anyone. 3 people or more were injured, and both of the women, according to late reports, are now dead. It is not clear if they were shot by security guards or some witness accounts saying that one woman turned and shot the other, then turned the gun on herself. We've also seen reports that the women shot themselves individually, but the latest information is that both of them are dead. The information coming out of Cairo is quite patchy. It is not clear at this point if these attacks were coordinated, who was behind the attacks, or what the motivation was. Brian, back to you in D.C.
All right. Thank you much, Mike Tobin. Recent violence and terrorist activity in Iraq comes right on the heels of the past week's installment of a new government. Orlando Salinas is live in Baghdad with more on this story. Hello, Orlando.
Hey, Brian, one day after a series of horrific car bomb attacks leave 50 people dead, there have been at least 3 more car bomb attacks taking place in and around Baghdad today. Iraqi police say that these attacks actually appear to be targeting mostly military patrols. There have been military patrols, convoys actually, U.S. and Iraqi military patrols. One was going by through eastern Baghdad when the first car bomb went off, passing a police station. Another car bomb exploded just as U.S. troops were driving by. It happened in Baghdad's west side. The 3rd car bomb went off just as a different U.S. patrol was going by. A total of at least 4 people killed today, nearly 20 more hurt. And nearly 200 miles south of Baghdad, Iraqi soldiers guarding what the military now says are strings of mass graves. Near a town called Samawa, as many as 1,500 bodies have been found. That site discovered early last year, Brian, but military officials say a well-defined examination didn't actually begin until earlier this month. For the past couple of weeks, though, a handful of news organizations have known about this, but were asked by military officials, please do not release the information. They didn't want any villagers rushing the grave site, destroying evidence. It has happened in the past. past now. This time, authorities wanted what you might call a textbook case on how to gather evidence. Authorities say most victims are women and children, look like they were lined up in front of those graves and then shot. Most appear to be Kurds. Back in '91, Saddam Hussein ordered a crackdown around that area. As many as 27 grave sites have been found around that region. The evidence being gathered will be used to help support allegations against Saddam Hussein and others accused of crimes against humanity and genocide. Brian?
All right, Orlando Salinas in Baghdad, thank you. The CIA says they can't rule out that Syria might have had some of Iraq's missing weapons of mass destruction. Lieutenant General Tom McInerney has been following this story for some time now, and he joins us here on the set of Weekend Live to talk about it a bit more. Okay, we all know that apparently we're not going to find weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. That's the best guess anybody has right now. So the question was, if there were weapons of mass destruction, where did they go? And many people look at the border between Iraq and Syria. Build the case for me that weapons of mass destruction left Iraq, went to Syria just before the war began.
Well, it went somewhere between June of 02 and when the war started in February of 03, February, March 03. And the fact is there was a parade of vehicles going through Al-Qaim, which is on the border, into Syria.
We know that how?
We know that through satellite imagery, through human intelligence, and other all-source material.
There was a large convoy of big trucks.
Lots of convoys.
So
yeah,
how many? Do you have any sense of how many?
I don't have how many cents,
the raw numbers,
but lots of them. And right up even in the middle of the war to the very end, that was the last post to go down at Al-Qaim. And that was very worrisome to the Israelis and others because they were taking things out. Now, the other thing that is very important, a year ago, Lolly Weymouth interviewed King Abdullah of Jordan, and they had just thwarted a chemical attack, 20 tons of nerve and blister that was placed in Amman, Jordan, by Zarqawi, that had come out of Syria. I believe, and cannot prove it, that if they examine those weapons, and those weapons have fingerprints, because we have them, that they would probably find out that it would go back to perhaps Russia, France, and Germany.
You're talking not about fingerprints in the typical sense, but chemical fingerprints.
Chemical fingerprints.
So in other words, by looking at those chemical weapons and analyzing the chemicals, you get some sense of where they came from, where the base elements originated.
It's more than sense, Brian. It is exactly the plant that they were manufacturing.
Well, why don't they do that?
Well, that's a good question. The answer may be too embarrassing. The fact is, as we know through meetings, through human intelligence, I don't want to identify the sources, but I have talked to people that were in the meeting, that we know the Russians went in with a team, three-star general, which was advertised, former airborne commander, Spetsnaz team, and cleaned this material, shredded a lot of information. Now, they did the same thing in the old Eastern Bloc countries as they started to come down. They went in and they had a very professional way of doing this. All this combined left the survey group headed up by Charles Dulfer to the Iraq Survey Group, the ISG, to not get the evidence that they want. But there are a lot of caveats in their report, Brian.
And they left a room enough that you could drive a truck through in their final conclusions.
Absolutely.
Literally and figuratively, I guess.
Both.
Yeah. I guess the question is, what should we do about this?
Well, I think the administration probably has said that's in our rearview mirror. It isn't worth time. Our effort now must be on rebuilding Iraq, changing the environment over there, and getting as many allies rather than looking in the rearview mirror. Probably the right thing to do.
General, thank you for joining us.
Thanks,
fascinating stuff. We'll get the inside scoop on the Citizens Border Patrol group called the Minutemen from a reporter who has been embedded with the group, and details on one of the largest fake license and ID busts ever. Over 2,000 suspect licenses have been confiscated by federal officials. It's a really interesting story, and we'll have the latest details. This is Weekend Live. Brian Wilson in Washington, sitting in for Tony Snow. Back in just a moment.
Great, the power's out, but you've got a flashlight, right? With dead batteries. No problem. Just grab another, and another, and another. Why can't you ever find a working flashlight when you need one? Introducing the Everlight Flashlight, voted USA Today's Product of the Year. This will be the last flashlight you'll ever need. It works every time without batteries, guaranteed. The secret is our exclusive charging technology using Faraday's principle of electromagnetic induction. Just shake Everlight Flashlight for a few seconds and you get bright light without batteries every time. Amazing! Everlight Flashlight is great for home repairs. Just shake and shine. Its permanent portable light goes right where you need it. Everlight Flashlight is perfect in the car. You'll have light year after year whenever you need it without batteries. You'll never be stranded in the dark again. Look, regular flashlights use expensive batteries that die and bulbs that burn out. Everlight Flashlight never needs batteries, and the ultra-bright LED light source never wears out. It lasts forever.
I carry this $200 flashlight at work. It needs to be recharged every day. The Everlight Flashlight never needs to be recharged, and it works every time to keep your family safe.
Use Everlight Flashlight in your boat, RV, and while camping. You can even take it with you when you walk the dog. Everlight Flashlight is a must for all home emergency kits. The powerful beam can be seen over a mile away. The Everlight Flashlight is waterproof, shock resistant, and so tough, we guarantee it for life. If it ever stops shining, we'll replace it for free. Now on this special TV offer, get the amazing Everlight Flashlight for the incredible price of just $19.95. But wait, call now and get the pocket-sized Everlight Flashlight, a $15 value, absolutely free. Get the Everlight Flashlight. Call now.
Call 1-800-679-1416 to order the Everlight Flashlight for just $19.95 plus shipping and handling. You'll receive the bonus pocket size absolutely free. So call 1-800-679-1416.
Tonight at 6, stepping up Social Security and enforcing his energy plan. Will Bush be able to sway the Senate? Then at 6:30, clouded with questions, we expose the truth about who's really running the Al Jazeera network. This weekend, still the one network where more Americans turn for their news. Tonight at 10, Rosie's on a rampage, bashes Bush.
He is basically a war criminal.
Defends her marriage.
It was also an act of civil disobedience.
And supports Hanoi Jade. It's an explosive at large. Then at 11, Senator Mitch McConnell on After Hours.
Time for a quick check of today's headlines. That means we need to talk to Greg Jarrett, who's standing by at the Fox News desk in New York. Hello, Greg.
Hi, Brian. Hello, everyone. A bride-to-be suddenly gets cold feet and runs away just days before her wedding. Police say Jennifer Wilbanks hopped on a bus Tuesday, traveled to Vegas, and then New Mexico. She was supposed to be married today in Georgia.
It has been determined that Jennifer has some issues the family was not aware of. We're looking forward to loving her and talking with her concerning these issues.
Well, the minister who was planning to marry Wilbanks and her fiancé, John Mason, says everyone is relieved that Wilbanks is now safe. American soldiers were not at fault in the death of an Italian agent in Iraq, that according to an investigative report. That report says no disciplinary action should be taken for what the investigating officer calls, quote, a tragic accident. Nicola Calipari was mistakenly shot on March 4th after he secured the release of an Italian hostage. U.S. soldiers fired on the Italian's vehicle as it approached quickly at a checkpoint. North Korea blasting President Bush, the foreign ministry spokesperson for that country, calling the U.S. president, this is a quote, a hooligan and a world dictator whose hands are stained with the blood shed by innocent civilians, end quote. Well, he adds also that his country does not expect a resolution to the standoff over nukes while President Bush is in office. Those comments come as diplomats say the U.S. is warning allies Pyongyang may launch an underground nuclear test by June. And that's a quick check of some of the latest headlines. I'm Greg Jarrett. Now back to Brian Wilson in Washington. More of Weekend Live. Brian?
All right, thank you much. Roughly 2,000 licenses believed to be fakes have been confiscated by immigrations and custom enforcement agents, and arrests have been made. Our Catherine Herridge is all over this story and joins us live here in Washington. Catherine, what link do these bogus licenses have to potential terrorism?
Well, at this stage, Immigration and Customs Enforcement is saying they don't think there's any terrorist connection, but frankly, the investigation is not over yet. We're talking about 2,000 licenses that they're investigating, and these just weren't vehicle licenses. These were licenses for trucks, also hazmat licenses, and some of the individuals who bought these licenses had access to the ports in Florida. You add all of that up, And if one of those licenses went to a terrorist, you've really got a recipe for disaster.
All right, now, where do you go to get one of these licenses if you wanted one? In other words, how does the process work if somebody wanted to get their hands on an illegal license?
Well, what officials say is so disturbing about the scam is that it looks like an internal conspiracy. In other words, among the 52 people who were arrested, 3 worked at the Department of Motor Vehicles in Florida. They were selling these licenses for between $1,500 and $3,000 a pop. And what's sort of troubling is that the licenses are real. They're not forgeries. And once you've got that license, that's really your ticket to other forms of ID in this country.
All right, now, I would assume that the stuff like this is not new, that it's been going on for some time now. It gets more complicated, of course, post 9/11, when perhaps terrorists are getting their hands on these. How widespread a problem do we think this is?
Well, in the last week alone, we've had 3 law enforcement actions, one in Michigan, one in Maryland, and then this big bust in Florida. If you see 3, you've got to imagine where there's smoke, there's fire. There may be other scams going on in other states across the country. What's so concerning to officials is that after 9/11, the driver's license really became an even more important form of ID. You need it now to get on an airplane. And what I think troubles them is that here we are 4 years after 9/11, and there is still no federal standard for these licenses, and that was one of the principal recommendations of the 9/11 Commission. Brian.
Catherine, thank you much. We appreciate it. The group calling itself the Minutemen, that has been standing post along the U.S.-Mexican border for a month now in order to draw attention to the issue of illegal immigration, is wrapping up its first stint, but setting its sights on a much bigger project. KFYI radio reporter Steve Gregory has been embedded with the Minutemen and now joins us with more. As they wrap up this 1-month test of the Minuteman idea, what are they walking away with? What have they learned?
They've learned an awful lot, Brian, not from organizational standpoint, not only that, but also from response from media, response from Congress, response from administration and the Border Patrol. They've learned an awful lot to build on that nucleus of this 30-day project to expand into this nationwide project now. Their plans are to take it from Brownsville, Texas to San Diego, California, utilizing 14,000 volunteers and up to 100 aircraft.
You know, I've been on the border, at least down in Texas. I've not been in that part of the world. And the thing that always strikes me is how vast the area is. Why wouldn't the federal government want some help to try to keep an eye on such a vast and wide-ranging area?
Well, interestingly enough, I talked with Michael Nicely, who's the sector chief here in Arizona, and he tells me that they like the eyes and ears on the border. What they don't like are untrained civilians doing it. It's very dangerous out here. He told me that, yeah, sure, you've got grandmothers sitting on lawn chairs with binoculars. You've got all of these retired school teachers and what have you. But the problem is they're not trained to deal with people coming across the border. Most of them don't know Spanish, he says. And what would happen if they were to come under attack? He said that's what concerns him the most.
But the experience of the Minutemen is that if they're sitting there with their binoculars, they don't come across the border.
Well, that would be the thought, you would think. But nonetheless, the Border Patrol section says they're not really endorsing the project. They don't want people to come down here that are untrained and unprepared for this situation. In reality, the Minutemen have brought attention to it. Whether you want to credit the Minutemen 100% or credit the fact that they've brought the attention here, you can't deny the fact that border crossings have been reduced by over 50% since they've been here.
And based on what you told me last time we talked, you can't deny the fact that it's caused the Border Patrol to step it up just a bit, hasn't it?
Absolutely. And also, I want to point out that I spoke with the U.S. Attorney's Office yesterday in Tucson, and they have told me they have had 0 reports or credible complaints against any of the Minutemen in the 30-day span.
So, in your sense, as a person who's been embedded with them, does it work? Are there flaws in the system? Does it need to be fine-tuned? Give me your sense. You've been there watching.
Yeah, there are flaws in the system, Brian, because we don't have the resources. When I say we, I'm talking about the border section, the Border Patrol areas. They don't have the resources that they desperately need to do their jobs effectively. So what the Minuteman Project has actually done is bring the attention to this area and say, listen, we have got millions coming across the border illegally. We've got millions infiltrating. We've got the drugs, the human trafficking, the black marketing. We've got all of that going on. We need the resources. And yes, it's very, very flawed. They have got to get a better handle and more aggressive handle on what's going on the front lines.
You know, I'm looking right now at an email that just came in from some folks that are down in that area. Annie, Jamie, Needy, Hannah, Grace, Ginger, and Tessa. and they say that they are 100% behind the Minutemen. Has that been your experience? Are people, the real people, not the government people, but actual people who live on that area, are they supportive of what the Minutemen are doing?
About 1 in 5 are not in favor of it because they feel like they're bringing negative attention to the area. But most all ranchers and landowners I've spoken with over the last 30 days are very supportive. Some of them have said they have never had a better night's sleep than they've had while the Minutemen are on patrol. A lot of them, their dogs don't bark anymore, which is always a sign that something's going on overnight. When dogs start barking all up and down the border, and, you know, in these ranch and farmhouses, they say their dogs aren't barking anymore. That's the biggest sign.
All right, Steve Gregory, thank you so much. Always interesting to get your perspective as somebody who's been actually embedded with the Minutemen. Good to have you with us. Let's check in now with Paige Hopkins about what is in store for the... I'm sorry, she's not there. She's not ready. They changed on me. Okay, well, we're going to move on then. Sorry, we'll find out what happened to Paige. Stay tuned. The mystery will be solved. Coming up, for more, some athletes, a bump on the head can mean a minute on the sideline, but for others, it can mean a lifetime of problems. We'll show you a new device that can determine if you have a concussion, if you're a football player, right on the bench. Back in a moment.
Imagine a best-selling minivan, now at a 5-star crash safety rating, and give it a longer powertrain warranty. Back it with 5 years roadside assistance and price it right. What would you have? The Kia Sedona. It's not only a better value, it's a smarter buy. Get a 2005 Sedona for $18,120 after $3,000 cash back. Hurry, offer ends soon.
Will you spend your retirement sitting in a comfy chair, watching the world go by? Or will you be out there with your sleeves rolled up, changing the very shape of it, saying, "Hello, future"? Call your advisor about the powerful resources of Lincoln Financial Group.
What are real gardeners across America growing with Miracle-Gro?
I grow big flowers.
They get higher than the garage. I have the tallest rose bush in the world, over 11 feet tall.
These are some of my tomatoes. You want to try one?
I grow giant pumpkins.
Bada bing, bada boom, they just started growing.
The secret is Miracle-Gro.
It's easy to use. It works fast. It's amazing to take this seed and get this result. They grow and they grow and they grow.
If they can do it, you can do it. Make your own miracles.
Attention leukemia victims exposed to benzene. Benzene is a common industrial solvent known to cause acute myelogenous leukemia, AML, and other forms of cancer. Hundreds of thousands of workers in the petroleum, rubber-making, and printing industries may be at risk. If you or a loved one has been diagnosed with leukemia that may be due to the solvent benzene, call this number in confidence. Call 1-800-651-0932. That's 1-800-651-0932. Don't delay.
We found Paige Hopkins. We thought for a moment maybe she'd disappeared and gotten on a bus to Albuquerque, but no, she was there in the studio all along.
I was, but you know what? We're going to talk about Jennifer, the runaway bride, and how she did make it from Duluth, Georgia to Albuquerque with only $40. I mean, I can't make it up Madison Avenue with only $40, so I do not know how she crossed the country. Also, really interesting thing, we're going to be talking to Peter Moss, a journalist. He has a piece coming out in New York Times Magazine. This is about his ride-alongs with a very special group of rough-and-tumble elite fighting forces in Iraq. They're known as the Special Force Commandos. These are guys who are actually on death row during Saddam Hussein's regime. Very, very interesting, tough group of guys. They're a counterinsurgency group. We're going to talk to him about that, and it's all coming up at 2 o'clock.
All right, Paige. Nobody would dare miss it, I promise. Thanks a lot, Paige. From the NFL to Friday night football, across the country, coaches and parents alike fear nothing more than a head injury to one of their players. But without a portable device that can tell if a player has indeed suffered a concussion, guesswork often substitutes for science. But that may be about to change. Dr. Michelle LaPlaca of Georgia Tech is the co-inventor of the concussion detector, and she's going to tell us exactly how this thing works. Fascinated by this, Michelle. We're looking at some pictures now of the device. Explain to us what it is and how it works.
Sure, Brian. Thank you very much for having me on to talk about DETECT. DETECT stands for Displayed Enhanced Testing for Concussion and Mild Traumatic Brain Injury. And what the device is a head-mounted display and it has immersive environment, which means that there's no visual or audio distractions, and a player who is suspected of having a mild traumatic brain injury or a concussion puts this device on their head, and all they can see is a computer screen in front of them. They are then asked a series of questions, and the questions take about 5 minutes to complete. This includes lists of words, which they're asked to indicate if they've remembered or not. Also, if they can identify shapes, and this tests their reaction time as well as their working memory, which often are not able to be tested right on the sidelines.
So some guy's out on the field and he gets his bell rung and he goes to the sideline and the coach looks at him and says, I'm not sure you're going back in. Let's see if you've had a concussion. You strap on this device and within 5 minutes you're able to make some kind of fairly sophisticated scientific judgment about whether or not that person has suffered a concussion?
Well, what the device is designed to do is to assist the athletic trainer. So it's not making a definite diagnosis, but it's giving a little bit more information than they can get otherwise. Typically, they ask, how many fingers am I holding up or what day of the week it is, but that doesn't really test their cognitive function at the time.
And so the goal here, of course, is not to send somebody back in if they've had a mild concussion, because that's when sometimes the serious injuries really take place.
Yes, and that's called second impact syndrome, and there is risk of that. And more importantly, we want to make sure that that person who has a suspected concussion gets referred to a neurosurgeon or neurologist as appropriate.
Now, the device, is it easily available now or just in the development stages?
We're still in the research development phase, but we are looking at our options and hope to get it to market in the next couple of years.
And so within a couple of years, you may actually see this on the sidelines in high school, college, and professional football games?
Yes, that is our hope. That's what we're striving for.
Does it have other uses that we haven't thought about?
We have looked into other uses. For example, in early cognitive decline or the first stages of Alzheimer's disease, some of these deficits also appear in patients, and otherwise they're not detected until years after.
Yeah.
So early assessment of Alzheimer's disease is a potential application as well.
One might imagine this could be used in the battlefield as well.
Yes, and we have certainly thought about that, and as well as in addition to the military, in EMS situations where they don't have any tools on the ambulance to see if somebody has a head injury in addition to other injuries that a person might sustain.
All right, Michelle, thank you very much. Fascinating stuff. Science moving to the football field to help prevent further injuries or serious injuries while people are out playing what is supposed to be a fun game. Thanks a lot, Michelle. It's been a snowy spring out west. Can you expect an unseasonably cold weekend where you live? It's kind of miserable here in Washington. Don't make any plans till you see where those April showers are making their last stand. Weekend Live, Brian Wilson in cold and rainy Washington. Back in a moment.
Behind this grill lies the newest addition to the Denali line from GMC. Introducing the Envoy Denali with a 5-star side impact safety rating and the most standard horsepower of any midsize SUV. The new Envoy Denali and Envoy XL Denali by GMC.
Be without fear in the face of your enemies.
Defend the people. An oath to his father made him a crusader.
We defend all!
An invincible enemy.
He has 200,000 men.
Made him a leader.
To take this city will be the end of you.
From the Crusades 1,000 years ago comes a story that lives today. Ridley Scott's Kingdom of Heaven. Rated R.
Hey, neighbor, where you headed?
Camping. We'll be roughing it.
Honey, did you pack batteries for the DVD player?
Yes, dear. For the kids.
How about batteries for the digital camera, camcorder, GPS, and flashlights?
Kids are afraid of the dark.
We need to go to Batteries Plus. We don't want our little fella stranded and scared out there.
Kids, right.
Thousands of batteries. Batteries Plus in Beaverton on Canyon Road next to Tom's Pancake House.
Every day's the perfect day at Beaches All-Inclusive Resort. As a proud sponsor of Sesame Street, Beaches welcomes Elmo and friends. So vacation and explore the wonders of paradise together.
Book now for great savings. Call your travel agent or 1-800-BEACHES.
Hola, ¿qué tal mis queridísimos amigos? Les saluda Graciela Beltrán y los invito para que continúen aquí con mi mejor amiga, Cita con Nelly.
Sala ya tu cita con Nelly. Es hora de tu disfrutar. Qué buena la vas a pasar. Siéntate, lístate ya. Es tu cita con Nelly.
Y ahora, 3 veces a la semana, tú tienes una cita con Nelly.
I have to give credit where credit is due. You Comcast people over the years have been the best service people I've ever dealt with. I mean, you guys aren't AAA, you're not AA. You guys are major leagues. And the woman who helped me, I mean, she hit the grand slam home run. She needs to be given a special thanks. She worked with me. I mean, she got things taken care of, and I just wanted to say thank you.
Comcast, taking care of what matters most.
Time for an update on the weather around the country. That means we got to check in with Chris Knowles, who's standing by at the high-tech Fox Weather Center. Hello, Chris.
Well, you're not kidding, man. We're going to put all the tools to use for you right now as we zoom into the southeast. Some nasty weather today, some severe thunderstorm warnings and watches. Now moving up a little bit along the coast, and really, this is a storm system that's centered in West Virginia, but a trailing cold front is producing the most severe weather right now this afternoon. We're looking at tornado watches back here through Mississippi and Alabama and into parts of Georgia now, and then severe thunderstorm watches all the way up through the Carolinas. We've gotten reports of some severe winds and some hail already out of this system, keeping an eye on it through the afternoon as it makes its way, these storm systems do, through the upper parts of the East Coast. Maine getting a ton of weather, ton of rain that they don't need. Already some flooding conditions up there as well. Just some miserable storm system. When you consider places like Pensacola today, breaking their record for April, the most rainfall ever in April. They're at 21 inches, should be around 3. And really cool back behind this in the nation's midsection. We're seeing temperatures far below normal. So the headline out of the Midwest today is chilly. We're looking at some early morning frost for today and into tomorrow. Temperatures 5 to 15 degrees below zero. Brian, back to you. Below where they should be, average.
Yeah, okay.
Not below zero.
Not zero.
Don't scare anyone.
I think say, man alive. That got my attention.
Headline.
Hey, it's good to see you, Chris. Thanks a lot. As prices at the pump continue to soar, a question comes to mind. How much is too much? Just how much are Americans willing to spend for a gallon of gas? For answers, we are joined by Fox Business contributor Charles Payne. Well, Charles, what's your take on all that?
Well, you know, in some parts of the country we're nearing $3, and other parts it's a little bit over $2, and it looks like Americans have been able to handle that a little bit. Yesterday we had some information out from the government on personal spending, and it has not stopped Americans from spending. On the other side, of course, Brian, what we've seen is people are buying fewer SUVs, and they are starting to make some adjustments, but so far it has not hurt the psyche of the consumer yet.
Well, I'm wondering now, if you stop buying SUVs, doesn't that eventually have an impact on the economy if people aren't buying big cars? Because, you know, all the big automakers, they were cranking those out for a while.
They were cranking them out, but it has more of an impact on the automakers themselves because those were big ticket items. I mean, folks are still buying vehicles. They're just buying more fuel efficient vehicles. So that's more of an industry specific issue for the automobile manufacturers. But, you know, it was interesting because when these numbers came out yesterday, Wall Street was really bracing for the worst. Instead, they were relatively strong. And then at the end of the day, the price of crude broke under 50, which is a huge bit of news for everybody. The market actually took off. And, you know, I think if we're in an area where crude oil is between 45 and 55, and gasoline is around $2, $2.50. We can hang in there, I think, as an economy, but anything above that, and I think we're in real shaky ground.
Starts to grind on us after a while is what you're saying.
Absolutely.
All right, Charles Payne, good to have you. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot, Brian.
It is a dreary day here in Washington, as Chris showed us, and not much else to coo about elsewhere on the weather. It's a good day if you're a duck in Washington that's looking out the window right here in our studio, and a pond, a reflecting pond, just near Capitol Hill. Stick around, watch Weekend Live, and don't go away, because at 4 o'clock, Jamie Colby has a Fox exclusive. She talks to Florida Governor Jeb Bush. You do not want to miss that. That's at 4 p.m. Eastern Time here on Fox News Channel.
Hi, Matt Lattimore here with the little shaver the big companies don't want you to know about. It's called Titanium Turbo. There isn't a guy I know who isn't upset over the rising cost of razor blades. And at $60 or $70, electrics are no bargain either. That's why we created the high-performance Titanium Turbo. At under $15, we think it's the best value in shaving today. It's small and easy to handle, yet it performs like a full-size electric. Watch how Titanium Turbo tackles this thick beard in seconds. The secret's the razor-like design. Add the power of 24 microblades and the titanium plated head, and you've got a shaver that sweeps away hair at 8,000 strokes per minute. The result is a smooth, comfortable shave day after day, month after month. So, how does Titanium Turbo stack up against a blade? This man shaved half his face with a leading razor and the other half with our electric Titanium Turbo. She can't tell the difference, and neither will you. Try Titanium Turbo at home risk-free and see for yourself. It also makes a great second shaver for the gym, the office, and is great for traveling too. Could the big companies make a longer-lasting blade or a reasonably priced electric? You bet they could, but we did. Call now to get the Titanium Turbo for only $14.99. It's the little shaver that delivers the performance of a full-size electric for a fraction of the price. Call now and we'll also include our T2 10-piece grooming kit. Yours free. That's right. You get both the Titanium Turbo and the T2 10-piece grooming kit. A $60 value for just $14.99. If you don't agree it's the best value in shaving, just return it and get your money back. Here's how to order.
To order your Titanium Turbo, have your credit card ready and call 1-800-656-8975. That's 1-800-656-8975. Or send a check or money order to the address listed. So don't delay. Call 1-800-656-8975. That's 1-800-656-8975.
This is a serious problem, and the American people expect us to put our politics aside.
When the president addressed the nation, more Americans turned to Fox News than any other cable news network. Fox News Channel, still the one, the only one for political coverage. Tonight, Protecting Our Kids. It's a special 2-hour block. At 8, hear one city's controversial plan to keep sex offenders out of their town. Then at 9, how can you protect your child? John Walsh has insight and analysis. Tonight, we're still the one network for real journalism, fair and balanced.
Prosecutors in the Michael Jackson case got a nasty surprise this week when their star witness, Jackson's ex-wife Debbie Rowe, actually wound up helping the defense. How did prosecutors get sandbagged by Rowe? And does her stunning reversal affect the case? For answers, we turn to Jane Velez Mitchell, correspondent for Celebrity Justice. Jane, good to have you here. Now, everybody said, oh, man, the ex-wife shows up. This can't be good for Michael Jackson. Turned out it was good for Michael Jackson. What the heck happened here?
She got up on the stand and said exactly the opposite of what the prosecutors said she was going to say. Prosecutors promised that she would get up on the stand and say that her interview that she did for Michael Jackson in the wake of that very damaging Bashir documentary was highly scripted. Well, guess what? She gets up on the stand and says it was totally spontaneous. In fact, they tried to hand her a list of questions, and she said, no, I don't want to see them because I don't want anybody to be able to come back and ever say it was rehearsed. Not only only that, she goes on to call Michael Jackson the victim and call these alleged unindicted co-conspirators, his associates, opportunistic vultures and liars who were trying to take advantage of Michael Jackson, profit off of his crisis, and basically kept him in the dark. That was the last thing the prosecutors wanted to hear, because they're trying to tie Michael Jackson to these alleged unindicted co-conspirators and make him kind of the kingpin.
How does this happen? Because a good lawyer never asks a question that he doesn't know the answer to. How does it happen that they ask questions and get answers that are 180 degrees out of sync with what they expected?
Well, it was an absolute shock in the courtroom. We in the media were looking at each other to make sure we were hearing it correctly. Sources tell Celebrity Justice that the prosecutors insist they were taken completely off guard, by surprise. They insist she changed her story. Now, we don't know that, but what we can tell you is we have learned that in L.A., on the very day she testified, Thursday, the second day of her testimony, Michael Jackson's attorney filed a very interesting document in their custody battle in Los Angeles. They refiled her termination of parental rights order that was originally signed in 2001 and later overturned. Now, what does this mean, this unusual refiling in L.A.? Was it to send her a message? Did it rattle her? We don't know, but it's very curious and highly unusual.
All right. Now, let's talk about the fact that the prosecution did get a small victory toward the end of the week. Talk about that.
Yes, they did get a victory yesterday. Basically, over the vigorous objections of the defense, the judge decided to allow in 2 books that were seized from Michael Jackson's bedroom at Neverland way back in 1993. One is called The Boy. The other is called Boys Will Be Boys. They do contain pictures of nude boys, and the prosecutors will try to use this to show that Michael Jackson, they believe, has a long-running sexual obsession with young boys.
All right, now, there's one other guy out there, and I hate to say this because last week we were talking about how Debbie Rowe was going to be the star witness for the prosecution, but there's this guy named Rudy Provencio. What are we going to hear from him?
Well, I have to say that Celebrity Justice has been saying for more than a month now that Rudy Provencio will be the star witness. He is expected to take the stand on Monday. He was a friend of Mark Schaffels, who we believe was brought in to help with the music side of the business, became good buddies with all these alleged unindicted co-conspirators, and actually took journal notes, and there were secretly recorded phone conversations. So he may tie all these alleged unindicted co-conspirators to Michael Jackson. And one other very important note, we've learned that he says he's been getting threats and has filed a report with the LAPD.
All right. Thank you, Jane. Great stuff. Appreciate it. That's all for this edition of Weekend Live, but stay tuned for all of the latest news here on Fox with Paige Hopkins. And right here on Weekend Live, we'll talk about the latest of Majority Leader Tom DeLay's troubles and have a special treat for golfers. That's at 12 noon Eastern Time. Plus, tomorrow, don't forget to watch Fox News Sunday with Chris Wallace. His special guest will be White House Chief of Staff Andrew Card and Democratic Senator Pat Leahy of Vermont. Check your local times and listings for that. I'm Brian Wilson. See you tomorrow, same time, same place, same channel. Bye-bye.
Hello, I'm Paige Hopkins, and this is Fox News Live. First on Fox, she took off just days before her wedding. She's now turned up in another state. What in the heck happened to Jennifer Wilbanks? Why did she take off? And terror in Egypt. The bomb goes off near a downtown museum, and hours later, 2 women open fire on a tour bus. Why are these terrorists targeting foreigners? And a fake ID bust in Florida. As many as 2,000 driver's licenses illegally sold right out of the DMV. And authorities believe it's an inside job. Is there a terror link? And if you've ever been on a computer, you know about those annoying pop-up ads. We're going to tell you what one state attorney general is doing to make at least some of them go away. But first, new developments in the case of a Georgia woman who ran off just days before her wedding. At any moment, we expect her family to hop on a plane to Albuquerque, and that's where Jennifer Wilbanks placed a call home to Georgia late last night. Fox News correspondent Jonathan Seri has more of this twisted tale live from Duluth, Georgia. Hi, Jonathan.
Hi, Paige. A twisted tale indeed. Jennifer Wilbanks' family and friends have been on an emotional roller coaster just over the past few hours or so. Early this morning, her fiancé emerged from the home that he shared with Wilbanks. He was giving everyone the victory sign. He had just received a call from Wilbanks that she was safe in Albuquerque, New Mexico. At first, Wilbanks had told him and authorities that she had been abducted, but several hours later admitted she made the whole thing up.
It has been determined that Jennifer has some issues the family was not aware of. We're looking forward to loving her and talking with her concerning these issues.
New Mexico authorities say Wilbanks told them she ran away because of the pressure of her upcoming wedding. That wedding was supposed to take place tonight here in Duluth, Georgia, with 600 people in attendance. But today, family and friends are talking about forgiveness.
Sure, we were all disappointed, maybe a little embarrassed, but you know what? If you remember all the interviews yesterday, we were praying, at this point, let her be a runaway bride. So God was faithful. Jennifer's alive, and we're all thankful for that.
Atlanta Fox station WAGA is reporting a woman matching the description of Jennifer Wilbanks purchased a Greyhound bus ticket more than a week ago. That ticket was used this past Tuesday, the same day that Jennifer Wilbanks disappeared, and she purchased that ticket using the name Wendy Mason. Paige, back to you.
And of course, Mason would have been her married name. Thank you so much, Jonathan
Indeed.
Seri. We're learning more about the BTK serial killer case now that a Kansas district judge has opened several sealed documents. The judge made the documents public at the request of 6 media organizations. They include an affidavit detailing BTK suspect Dennis Rader's financial condition and a list of witnesses who could be called at his trial. Rader arrested in February and has been charged with 10 counts of first-degree murder. He's expected to enter a plea at his arraignment on Tuesday. And a big bust at Florida's Department of Motor Vehicles has authorities worried that some of the thousands of bogus licenses could end up in the hands of would-be terrorists. And what's more, it appears as if 3 DMV workers could be behind this scam. How does that make you feel? Well, let's go now to Fox News national correspondent Catherine Herridge, standing by with the latest. Catherine.
Hey, good afternoon, Paige. At this point, Homeland Security officials telling Fox they don't think there's a link to terrorism, but the investigation isn't over yet. The Florida bust is a big deal because we're talking about 2,000 suspect licenses that were sold between $1,500 and $3,000 a pop. They include trucking licenses and hazmat licenses. Some were sold to illegals who had access to Florida ports. The arrest went down midweek. In all, 52 people taken into custody. 3 who work at the Florida Department of Motor Vehicles stand accused of selling the license for a fee. Unlike a fake ID, these licenses are legit, so a border inspector would probably let the individual through because there are no obvious red flags.
Internal conspiracies are a vulnerability. Corruption is a vulnerability. We talk about feeder documents. The feeder document here is cash. You have the money, you get a license. We have to eliminate that.
Fox getting access to the forensic document lab at an undisclosed location in Virginia. It does the physical exam of suspicious documents for Immigration and Customs Enforcement. That's a division of Homeland Security. What they're finding is that more feeder documents are being forged. Those are documents like birth certificates that you need for a driver's license. And there's no doubt Al-Qaeda has the means to buy excellent forgeries.
Well, the concern with Al-Qaeda is that they're on record, or we have documentation that they are very much involved in the use of fraudulent documents for concealing their identities.
This is the 3rd time in a week that Immigration and Customs Enforcement has cracked down on license scams. There were law enforcement actions also in Michigan and Maryland. Now, aside from the national security issues, there are basic safety concerns. For example, 11 people who bought trucking and hazmat licenses had accidents because they didn't have the training to drive big rigs. Paige.
Okay, Catherine Herridge, thank you. And violent protests in Afghanistan in the western town of Herat following what cops call an accidental shooting. A mother and her daughter are dead after Afghan security forces opened fire during celebrations on the anniversary of the fall of the country's last communist government. Afghan President Hamid Karzai expressed condolences to the victims' families and has ordered severe punishment for those responsible. Terror in Egypt. Nearly a dozen people are wounded in two separate attacks near popular tourist sites in central Cairo. The first, a bomb blast near a museum. Then less than 2 hours later, two veiled women opened fire on a tour bus. Fox News correspondent Mike Tobin is live in our Jerusalem bureau with more. Mike.
Well, Paige, these two attacks were just hours apart from each other, and the tourists were the apparent targets. The Interior Ministry of Egypt says now that 3 people are dead, and they were all attackers. And their relation to each other suggests these attacks were coordinated. As you mentioned, according to the authorities, the first attack occurred when a man carrying a bomb jumped off a bridge and exploded at the bottom right next to one of the more popular Egyptian artifact museums. Witnesses say body parts flew all around the area. The bomber was killed and several people were injured. The Egyptian Interior Ministry says the bomber was Ehab Yusri Yassin, a man wanted in connection with a bombing 3 weeks ago at a Cairo bazaar that killed 3 people. Authorities say they were pursuing him when he jumped off the bridge and detonated his bomb. 2 hours later, 2 women wearing veils opened fire on a tourist bus. They succeeded in injuring several people, not killing anyone. However, both women are now dead. There are conflicting reports as to whether they were shot by a guard or if they killed themselves. And the women are related to the original bomber. One of them is his sister, the other his fiancée, according to the Interior Ministry. Paige, back to you.
Okay, Mike Tobin, thank you. And terrorists launched a second straight day of attacks in Iraq aimed at shaking up the country's newly formed government. Mortars landed in a residential neighborhood in Fallujah, killing a child and wounding 10 other people. But Baghdad was once again the hardest hit. At least 4 killed there. One of the bombings took place near the offices of the National Dialogue Council. That's a coalition of 10 Sunni Arab factions negotiating for a stake in Iraq's new Shiite-dominated government. Lindy England, who became the face of the Abu Ghraib prison scandal in Iraq, is working on a plea deal. England's lawyer says the Army reservist will plead guilty Monday to 7 counts of abusing Iraqis. She became a focal point of the scandal after photos surfaced of her smiling and posing with nude prisoners. England faced a maximum of 16.5 years in prison, but her lawyers say with this deal, that would be reduced to 11 years. Iran is now threatening to resume nuclear energy production, this following failed talks with the European Union. Tehran now warns it may start up uranium enrichment-related work in the next week. Iran, which denies trying to make nuclear weapons, froze all uranium fuel work last November. That was following talks with Germany, France, and Great Britain. Who is afraid of Big Bad Bolton? Is it his detractors in Congress or scandal-plagued members of the UN who should be worried about President Bush's choice for UN ambassador? We'll debate it fair and balanced. Buy, sell, investors taking cues from what we're paying at the pump. Is the market really that dependent on the price of oil? Also, we're live at the Arizona border where the Minutemen Project is wrapping up its last day of volunteer patrols on the lookout for illegal crossings.
We never give in to fads. Discover the timeless beauty of Moen. Moen. Buy it for looks, buy it for life.
How are you? Hey, I just flew in from New Jersey, and boy, are my arms tired. Whoa! Oh, hey! Thank you. I'll be here all week.
Jam-packed with real chocolate chips. Chips Ahoy! A whole lot of yum.
Imagine a best-selling minivan, now at a 5-star crash safety rating, and give it a longer powertrain warranty. Back it with 5 years roadside assistance and price it right. What would you have? The Kia Sedona. It's not only a better value, it's a smarter buy. Get a 2005 Sedona for $18,120 after $3,000 cash back. Hurry, offer ends soon.
If you do your best thinking in the shower, imagine how smart you'll get under the new shower heads at Holiday Inn Express.
Proving that my client is innocent.
Case dismissed. 5.
Next. I'd like to pen the dog talker. Nice hair. Holy. Deficit's gone, Mr. President. Terrific. Which accounting firm are you with? Oh, I'm not an accountant. But I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night.
Stay smart. Stay at a Holiday Inn Express.
Are you a homeowner with substantial debts? Would you like to lower your monthly payments and free up cash for other family needs? Then call or log on to Ditech.com and take the Ditech Challenge. We'll guarantee you the lowest rate and fee and help you get cash for any reason, even if your credit is less than perfect. Put us to the test and find out why so many other lenders are saying, lost another loan to Ditech. Log on or call 1-800-DITECH-1.
The fiance and family of runaway bride Jennifer Wilbanks say they're happy to hear she's alive. The cops now say Jennifer has admitted to making false statements that she was kidnapped. How did she pull this whole thing off? Well, here to help us retrace her steps, private investigator John Patterson. John, thank you for joining us today. You know, it's quite remarkable when you think that she did not have a driver's license. She had $40. She boards a bus, gets to Vegas, and then Albuquerque with 40. I mean, how does that happen?
Well, number one, the most image we have of Jennifer is what we see on television, pictures where she's made up, she's with her family, she's happy, her hairstyle, she's got on nice clothes. When she left, she went to go jogging, and she probably had on loose-fitting clothes or sweat clothes. Her hair wasn't kept, probably pulled back in a ponytail, maybe a cap on. Something where she's not going to be very recognizable to someone who doesn't really know her closely. As far as getting on a bus, you can get bus tickets fairly cheap.
Yeah, but she stopped in Las Vegas. She stopped in Las Vegas before she even went to Albuquerque.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, she had $40 unless she was very lucky at the craps table. How did she make it?
She could have bumped some money, or maybe she knew someone along the way that gave her some money, or maybe she had some money hidden away some people didn't know about.
Well, based on your experience, you're a private investigator. When you hear about a story like this, we're now getting reports that a bus ticket had been bought with the name Wendy Mason a week before, and the local Fox affiliate is reporting that she may have used that bus ticket. Mason, of course, would have been her married name. When you hear this story in your gut, do you think somebody was helping her? Do you think somebody was colluding with her?
That's very possible, yes, ma'am. I don't think this was something that was pre-planned. I'm sure she had gotten cold feet a few days before this, and maybe she had just thought about it and maybe went out and bought the bus ticket beforehand. That's something we don't know.
She said that, reportedly we're hearing that she said she didn't know this was a national story. Well, my goodness. I mean, this story has been, you know, we've all been talking about it. Everybody, not just Fox, everybody has been playing this story because it was so compelling, this beautiful bride, and she goes out jogging and doesn't come back. Do you think she didn't realize this was a national story? Is that possible?
I think the young lady probably wasn't thinking at all. She was just scared. She was looking for time to get away. She wasn't thinking reasonably, and this was her way of escaping at the time.
How come nobody recognized her? Is it just because of what you were saying when we're looking at these pictures of her? She has makeup on, but she doesn't look like she's wearing a lot of makeup. I'm surprised that nobody recognized her.
Well, it's like, again, you know, when people are traveling, they're not really looking at other people that hard. They see something on the news and they expect that this lady may have been abducted, she may be dead. They're not really expecting to see her on a bus on the way to Las Vegas or to Albuquerque.
Okay, John Patterson, thank you so much for joining us today. Very interesting story, and of course we're going to continue examining it. Thank you. Well, some critics say John Bolton, President Bush's nominee to become our UN ambassador, is too blunt. But couldn't that be an asset when it comes to cleaning up the scandal-plagued UN? We're going to debate that, fair and balanced. Plus, pop-up ads, they can drive you nuts, but that may not be the only harm they could do. We'll explain. And most volcanoes in the U.S. may seem dormant on the outside, but they could be disasters just waiting to happen soon. We're going to tell you what one organization is trying to do to keep you safe.